Hey everyone, my name is Deborah J. Kelly, intrepid explorer of the mind, body and soul. And today I wanted to do a video because it's been a while since I've done one, and I wanted to explain, I suppose, the little bit of speed wobbles that I've been through myself over the last couple of weeks. So everybody's going through their own changes. The world itself is going through a lot of change at the moment. And I keep hearing from anybody I've been in contact with, everybody seems to be kind of going into this hibernation mode of self-reflection, self-development, shedding a skin, so to speak, and then kind of coming back out with all these new revelations and understandings of themselves, and then kind of going back in again and coming back out. And I have been the same. It's been exactly the same for me. So a couple of weeks ago, I had another speed wobble. So it's kind of almost like, when you have things figured out, as soon as you have them figured out, you don't have them figured out anymore. And it's really unsettling and it can kind of really throw you off balance. So I kind of thought I had my head around the whole of what was going on, the deep state cabal, the underworld of all the kind of darkness that's going on, the light of the new world, the new earth, the fifth dimension, all that kind of side of things. And I really thought I had a handle on it. And I'll be completely honest with you, I was watching videos on holograms and these projections that they do up in the sky to make it look like, Jesus Christ is coming, or Allah, or whoever. There's a lot of talk of Project Bluebeam, so you can do your own research. You can go down your own rabbit hole with that. But when I was looking at it, I was looking at a particular channel, and it was a Christian channel. Now, I was brought up Catholic. I don't follow any religion at all. I follow my own religion or what resonates with me. However, when I was looking at this particular channel, this woman is a Christian, and she was talking about all these conspiracy theories. And I was like, okay, this is a bit unusual to see somebody standing at a pulpit preaching to their people about conspiracy theories. And so I kept watching, and what she had to say was really interesting, and a lot of it aligned with what my own beliefs were, and or my own knowledge of the conspiracies, if you want to say that, what's out there at the moment. And so because it aligned with me, I watched a few of her videos, and at the end of her video, or in little parts of her video, she kind of slotted in the whole God and Jesus, and if we're believing in aliens and stuff like that, then there isn't any aliens, and how God's not really going to be very happy when you're believing in aliens and you're believing in all this other kind of crazy realm, demonic stuff. Actually, she was kind of saying that aliens are real, but they're actually demons, is what she was saying. And I guess when you have your discernment open, you also have to leave it open to perspective, should I say, as well. And essentially a couple of things that she was saying was resonated with me, and I am very much the kind of person that, I'll always do my own research. I'll have my own opinions. I feel personally that I'm allowed to change those opinions as I go along, and as my truths or my beliefs for myself change. And they will change. There's not one human on this planet can say, there is God, there is demons, there is aliens, there is whatever. We don't freaking know. We just have to go with what feels right in here. We don't know for definite. We don't know anything for definite unless we've seen it with our own eyes. And if other people have seen it with their own eyes, then that's amazing for them. And at least they can prove to themselves whatever their belief system is real. Okay. So that's essentially where I'm at. So for me, I have my own, as I say, my own belief systems and my own truths. And what I found was, after watching this, I was like, wow, okay, so I believe in God. I just don't believe in the Catholic God that I was brought up with. As in, he's, damning you to hell if you're not following by his rules. But when I had to consider going back to this perception of God and his rules and the whole lot, I found myself getting a little bit fearful. And I was like, okay, well, if the judgment day is coming and I've got this all completely wrong, and I had been learning tarot, I had been learning astrology, I had been doing all of the occult modalities as such, that because they resonated with me, because I was good at it, because I got it, because it actually sat well with my body. And then after watching this a couple of these videos, I started to think, what if I'm going down the wrong path? Like, oops. And so, then I kind of got to thinking, I was like, well, if Judgment Day is about to come, I want to make it up with God. So I sat and I meditated, and I sat with God, and I essentially apologized for neglecting him, for anything that I have done wrong in this life whereby I wasn't sure of the right or wrong, but I just did what I thought was right at the time. I apologized for not acknowledging him more, or her or it more. I speak about the universe a lot, and that's my definition, that's my label for God, because I find it easier. The word God has not got great connotations for me because of my upbringing, and because of how media has kind of, if you mention the word God, media kind of puts you down to be a bit of a crazy lunatic who, one of these amazing God people, whatever. So I had gone away from that for quite a while. So I kind of sat and I was meditating with God, and I was like, I'm going to treat this as a friend who I haven't seen in a long time, and who I'm looking for forgiveness for, being embarrassed to know them at times, or to be able to be embarrassed to say their name. Apologizing for not being in contact as much, apologizing for not being a better friend, all these things. I was essentially sitting down with an old friend and was apologizing for not seeing them the way that I should. And although it felt good, it actually did feel quite good, I still had this slight fearful feeling in my stomach, and I knew that it wasn't right. It didn't feel right for me. And I went through a few days of this whole, maybe I should rethink my belief system and take God back into my heart, the way all the Christians talk about it. That's no disrespect to Christians. I'm just saying that that's, the media has really, it's just really stereotyped anybody who believes in God in that way. So, as I said, I had a few days where I went down the whole route of finding in my heart whether this belief system was the real system I should be following or not. I was considering, maybe have I lost my own way by getting caught up in all these conspiracies, these beliefs, these, angels, aliens, everything that's going on in the world. And what I found when I meditated, as good as it felt to reconnect with source, with God, with the universe, with whatever it is you want to call it, as good as it felt, I felt as though I didn't still understand in my heart why this particular God was so damning and was so strict and so mean at times. If I'm honest with you, it's like, if you don't follow these rules, you're not getting into heaven. A parent loves a child no matter what, no matter how bad it is. And yes, while God is supposed to love us no matter how bad we are, there seems to be a lot of rules and regulations in the Bible. I also have always questioned that when the Bible is written, it's written from man's perspective. That's not really necessarily always going to give you the cleanest version of reality. Everybody experiences life in a different way. People have different perspectives. People have grown up differently. And the point of what I'm saying is I've always respected the Bible as being a historical piece of text, and I've always respected it insofar as I see it as a collection of stories that people have told, and maybe there's metaphors in it, maybe there's it's not, fully exactly what happened, it's somebody's version of it. So that's kind of how I've always seen it. As I said, I've always respected it. It's there a long time. Who am I to say anything other than? But around the same time, I had also been doing more research, and I came across another guy. He was talking about, the chrism oil and ascension and the Bible being an allegogy, I think it is the word. I could have that word wrong, sorry. For it being that the Bible is essentially talking about the physiology of the body. And it's quite an interesting perspective. It's quite an interesting story, concept, belief system. Again, I still have reverted back to my old ways, my old belief system, which was the one that I'm most comfortable with, which is, yes, there is a God, there's a universe, there's a source, there's one divine source, and that source is just unconditional love, and we are but fragments of that. We are but perspectives of that light, of that beautiful source, of that beautiful unconditional love. And we're just having experiences. We're on this planet having a collection of experiences, and everybody is having their own set of experiences, their own perceptions and perspectives of that fragmented source of light. We in ourselves are holograms of the main image. So that's kind of how I still see things. I did go on a wobble of, oh my God, what if I'm doing this all wrong? And gave up. As I said, I'd actually, in lockdown, I had learned tarot. I've been using it for years, but I had really drilled into it, and astrology. And I was like, wow, I'm just really good at this. And then I kind of, when I went through my phase of reevaluating things, going, have I got this right or wrong? I was like, okay, I'm going to put away the tarot cards just in case they're evil. But I actually think the way it's, again, my belief is whatever way we perceive the world, that is how it is. So had I continued along the path of, maybe even going down a full Christian following, then, in my world, because that was my perception, that would be correct for me. And so I go back to my original concept of whatever is right or wrong, you're right, So, and as I've said, there's nothing wrong with being a Christian. There's nothing wrong with being a Catholic, Protestant, Jewish, Buddhist, Hindu, whatever religion you are. There's nothing wrong with it. As long as it sits right in your heart, as long as it is benefiting humanity in a positive way, as long as you're being self-loving and compassionate, and you're not condemning yourself, and you're not limiting yourself, and you're not hurting anybody or hurting yourself, then it doesn't really matter what we believe. I feel the most important thing is that it resonates in here. And if there is feelings of fear in your body, such as for me, I had feelings of fear because I went back to childhood memories of like as a kid, I remember thinking, if I'm Catholic or Christian, whatever, and God and my interpretation of the Bible and my religion is this way, then in essence it means that every other person who isn't following the same train that I'm on is wrong. And I remember at a really young age becoming aware of this, and that didn't sit right with me. And it took me a long time to revisit that and get into some sort of understanding with it. And I remember thinking, no, because God or source or, the one, the divine, the creator couldn't have decided when we were all being made as a species that there's only one rule and that's it, and you have to find your way back to that. The only rule, if you want to put it that way, that we need to find our way back to is to understand that we are unconditional love, made in the likeness of unconditional love, which created us. And so if we exercise that, then we are actually being our most true and authentic selves. But if we feel that our particular religion or way, which has a set of rules and which has a set of, which are man-made rules, by the way, then we can't condemn every other nationality, every other creed, every other understanding of our world. That would essentially mean that, whatever percentage of people believe in God go to heaven and everybody else just goes to hell. And that's quite a big proportion. It also would mean, if I was Catholic and, Jewish people or Hindu people or Muslim or Buddhist people weren't believing in the same God as me, well, they're all going to hell. Bullshit. That is not how it goes, because we're all God's children, all coming from source. We are but atoms and energy. We return and come from atoms and energy, and as I said, we're unconditional love. So I had my speed wobble, fell off the wagon out of fear that I was following the wrong path. And what was really beautiful was my body told me, and my spirit, in essence, reminded me of the fact that once I'm doing good in the world, once I'm acting from my heart, and once I'm following that feeling inside that feels good, that joyful, loving, compassionate feeling of expansion in my heart, as long as I'm being true to that, then I can't be doing bad in the world and I can't be going wrong. And if I am, and I'm completely wrong in following that methodology and that understanding for myself in my own world, then, if something happens and I die and I go to a God that didn't really agree with that, then let's just hope that he can understand that I was living my best life in whatever way I could choose to, and therefore it doesn't matter. And so that's essentially what I'm saying. I think that no matter what your belief system is, as long as you're operating from the heart and with goodwill, and that you're serving others and you're having love and compassion for yourself and for others, then what harm are you doing, really? And so that's why I wanted to make this video, because I had that speed wobble and I wanted to let other people know that it's okay to have that speed wobble too. So yeah, I hope that you're all keeping very well. I'm sure in these times everybody has gone through a lot of their own awakening, a lot of their own reevaluating their lives, what it's all about, why are we here, where did we come from, where are we going to, and all that. And I hope that you're coming to some sort of balanced acceptance of where you are. And yeah, and no doubt it's an ongoing process. My views of the world and my understanding could change dramatically in the next 5-10 years. The next week could change. But the point is that just keep following your heart. Keep following your heart, and it'll bring you always back home, and it'll always bring you back home to yourself. So that's it, and I'll talk to you soon.